Just fight them on. Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday. Good to see you. Hope you're having a good day, good evening, whatever the case may be. The world continues to spin around. So, welcome everyone. Saw some of the great posts earlier. Welcome all of you. Thank you to all the moderators. So many good people. Here we go. DuPage Trading Post. How are you doing, my friend? Ricardo, Zupet, Lila, good to see you. Al, Jared, oh, so good. Hidden Nugget, love that one. So, how is everything going? Y'all doing good? Hope so. World is getting stranger. Tonight on the Steiger Perspective over at the artistfirst.com network, I'll be having Nancy Addison back on. And I want to thank Renee for sending the information. So we're all trying to get healthy, right? Stay healthy, whatever. We don't want to have genetically altered organisms in us. So everyone says go to organic. Well, some brands out there, I could give a few, but I won't. I will do it over at the Artist First. But guess what? They're being bought up by companies that actually push GMO. Ta-da! Ay, 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 ay. Hello, David. How are you doing? Lynn, good to see you. Hadley, hello. Good to see you from Cape. Is that Britain? Is that Britain? How do you pronounce that? Is the E silent or going? Jenny, hello. Ian, Kay, peace. How you doing? None of the mystic. How are you? Good to see everyone. So anyway, got a lot to cover. Haven't heard from Patrick in a while. Patrick, if you're out there, we are sending you our love, sending you good vibes to you, my friend. And we miss you. Hello, Cheesesteak. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Eyes to see. How are you doing? Girl with no name, Spooner, how are you? Favor to all of you. Hello, Franny. How you doing? David and Jill and Cassandra, good to see you. Gushara, good to see you. You see, that's what I'm saying. So let me just invoke favor upon you. And favor now of the dominions, the powers, the principalities, those in high places. I invoke their favor upon you. Actually, I was in a meditative session and got the okay to do it. So may favor grace you of the kind that is of the celestial nature, and may prosperity abound in your life. May your barns and storehouses absolutely be to overflowing, and let there be full restoration. All the harvests, all the things that you did that caused loss, things that were stolen from you, those things that you may never have even known about, may that be full restored back to you fully. And nothing missing, nothing broken. Yeah, it's, if spelling is casting spells, then we should do it in the affirmative. Would you not agree? All right, so cheers, everyone. We're learning about our own magic. We're learning how to begin to take control instead of being controlled. We're learning how to be not the victim, but to be the victorious. And hello, Consciously Aware. How are you doing, Josh? Good to see you, my friend. You're in my memory. Good to see you. That's some interesting ones. Heidi, good to see you. Marcia. It's how we begin to take control of your life. We're going to learn today some, folks, I'm going to get right into it, because I think that, well, I know many of you are going to take this information and you're going to do with it what wise men and women do. And you're going to add it to your magic. So real quick, some things that I wanted to show you and share with you. All right. So here we learning, and I hope this is what you're gaining. So if I was to merely quote these two phrases to you, they sound like witchcraft, don't they? Calling those things that be not as though they are. The substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Seems, somehow spooky, but actually this is directly out of the Bible. Shows you how much the Bible is a spell casting book. This is faith. And it is the active ingredient. It's the emulsifier that starts the combustion of the chemical reaction. We're going to learn today how to tap into what is called, and we're going to be taught, the spirit of the world. And no magic of any kind, no religion of any kind, no belief system of any kind, whether it's a presidential candidate, politician, a guru, whatever. No matter what you believe in, it requires faith. Even if you're depressed, I could just go through a whole litany of things here. It wouldn't be there unless your faith allowed it. That's plain and simple, darling. Suck it up, cupcake, because that's exactly the reality. And no amount of denial will change that. You see, I think you got a shot here, one shot. Now, some people waste it. See, I happen to think that this death realm, I can't, this is where reincarnation comes in this whole recycling. This is the death realm. We learned that. All master magicians know that. They know that this is the death realm. And I don't know what would be accomplished by you going repeatedly through the death realm over and over again. At some point in time, graduation has to take place. I love what Trina said. You're here to graduate. By the way, talked with Trina. She will be back on next Tuesday. And I know a lot of you are asking the salts that she was using. I've sent an email and she'll get back to me, and I'll get that out to you. All right. I want to thank one of our great individuals here. And give me 1 second. So this is Peter's work. And Peter, you're doing just phenomenal, my friend. I love how you've put this. Now, if you want this graph, email me. It should be part of your file, because what Peter has done here is, I think, articulated it in a fashion that you could begin to very quickly see how the four elements, how the four compounds all can interact with one another to the emotions. Peter just did a great job on that. Look at this. You can turn it around. This is perfect. And if you notice something in here, it is the cross, Now, I don't look at the cross as a religious symbol. It was taken from the occult. They hijacked it, as they've hijacked many things. And if you can begin, and I hope, I know that those who are here, the regulars, we're taking this serious, because this is how you're going to change your life. This is how you're going to change your life from being dependent on an unseen force and beginning to recognize what that force and source is. This is the way that you begin to reverse those curses, those things that naturally creep in the death realm, and how you begin to understand the balance. There's a balance between being prosperous and having your needs met to greedy, wasteful. The universe hates that. Mother Earth despises a waster. And if you are a waster, then, you know, your magic is going to be a boomerang on you. So anyway, thank you, Peter. Good stuff all the way around. So anyway, allow me to get out of this real quick. So as we proceed forward, I've got to get into today's teaching. It is just phenomenal stuff. I'm going to get right into it. I've read this now 3 times, getting it fully digested within me. And each time I'm reading this, I just go, oh, yeah, all right, now I understand that. All right, so let's get right into it. Chapter 12. How it is that particular virtues are infused into particular individuals, even of the same species. There are also in many individuals or particular things peculiar gifts, as wonderful as the species, and these also are from the figure and situation of celestial stars. For every individual, capitalized I, that means you, myself, when it begins to be under a determined horoscope and celestial constellation, contracts together with its essence a certain wonderful virtue, both of doing and suffering something that is remarkable, even besides that which it receives from its species. I want to stop right here because this is very important, folks. Trina talked about this. I've had guests on here before. I want to get others on here. There's a contract, folks. I knew this in my religion that I was in. It was very abundantly plain, particularly, again, the particular denomination that I came in. Contracts. Paul makes reference to contracts, talks about a contract, a note that had been held hostile against us. This is very clear that each of us apparently determine, apparently it may be us. We have a part in this, obviously, that we determine what sign we're going to be coming in under and the celestial constellation as well. There's a contract that has been executed. And in that contract, there is both what we would call pleasure and suffering, pain, joy. So it tells me that, again, part of this amnesia, so many people are cursed with, they don't understand this. And this is why this Magick is important. All right, we continue. And this is done partly by the influence of the heaven. Notice that it's capital H and singular, not plural, singular, and the heaven, and partly through that obedientness. There's a word. It's obedience is what it means, of the matter of things to be generated. So now there's this confluence coming together, and there is agreements, there are obediences, and these combined begin to generate what is called to the soul of the world, which obedientness indeed is such as that our bodies to our souls. Folks, this is going to get interesting. For we perceive that there is this in us, that according to our conceptions of things, our bodies are moved, and that cheerfully, as when we are afraid of or fly from anything. So many times when the celestial souls conceive several things, then the matter is moved obediently to it. I hope you're hearing. Also in nature, there appear different prodigies, That's what divers mean. By reason of imagination of superior motions. So the savants, the geniuses that come into our species, our races, there's a lot going on here. It's just not the individual. There is favor being invoked on these individuals. So also, they conceive and imagine different virtues, not only things natural, but also sometimes things artificial. And this is especially if the soul of the operator is inclined towards the same. Whence, Afsison said that whatsoever things are done here must have been done before in the motions and conceptions of the stars and orbs. So in things, various effects, inclinations, and dispositions are occasioned not only from the matter variously disposed, as many suppose, but from a various influence and diverse form, not truly with a special difference. And I know it's special, but it's special difference, but peculiar and proper. And the degrees of these are variously distributed by the first cause of all things, God, himself, herself, itself, who, being unchangeable, distributes to every one as it pleaseth, with whom, notwithstanding, second causes, angelic and celestial, cooperate, disposing of the corporeal matter and other things that are committed to them. That right there, folks, is a bombshell right there. I mean, it's huge. So you've got the creator of all things. I call it the infinite being. Today, in my meditation time, in my shower, it was 40 minutes of praise and thanksgiving. It just turned into one of those things. And it's the same thing that should be vibrating in you. If we all have this natural yearning to be connected back again with Source. And here we find out that everything is distributed. So if you look at the org chart, creator here, infinite being, then there's the angelic and celestial realm. They have a whole structure to them. There's a cooperation that then disposes the corporeal matter, us, and other things that are committed to that. All virtues, therefore, are infused by God through the soul of the world, yet by a particular power of resemblances and intelligences, overruling them and concourse of the rays and aspects of the stars in a certain peculiar harmonious consent. So right here, it's odd because it seems like there can be this command or this disposing of what we would call talents. Then there's the second causes that could potentially stop the upper flow, and yet there's this bottom layer called power of resemblances, pearl, and intelligences, overruling them and the concourse of the rays, that's interesting, and aspects of the stars. And if you have to look at it, it's all harmoniously consented. Wow. Chapter 13, whence the occult virtues of the things proceedeth. It is well known to all that there is a certain virtue of the lodestone by which it attracts iron, and that the diamond does by its presence take away the virtue of the lodestone. So also amber and jet, rubbed and warm, draw a straw to them. And the stone asbestos, being once fired, is never or scarcely extinguished. A carbuncle shines in the dark, The stone etites put above the young fruit of a woman or plant strengthens them. These are spells now. I'll just give you right now. Now, Agrippa tells us, he's just reporting what he has learned over his lifetime. Have some tea. But put under weakens them. The jasper stauncheth blood. The little fish, the Iceni, stop the ships. Rhubarb expels cholera. The liver of the chameleon, burnt, raises showers and thunders, brings rain. The stone, the heliotrope, dazzles. By the way, if you ever see the plant, it's beautiful. I did order some of these stones. And get this, the sight dazzles the sight and makes him that wears it to be invisible. The stone, Lycurius, takes away delusions from before the eyes. The perfume of the stone, lapis, calls forth all the beast. The stone, Psychitus, brings up eternal ghost. The stone, Anicetus, makes the images of gods appear. The Anectus, put under them that dream, causes oracles. There is an herb in Ethiopia with which they report ponds and lakes are dried up and all things that are shut to be opened. In other words, you could see the future. It has a lot to do in other areas, flow. Things have been blocked in your life. And we read of an herb called lattes, which the Persian kings gave to their ambassadors, that whosoever they shall come, they shall abound with plenty of all things. This is amazing. I don't know what I have to find this herb, I guess. I mean, obviously it was infused with an energy, but imagine an emissary from a king coming to your house, knocking on your door and presenting you with this, what would probably be a wrapped of this herb. And once it entered into your home, you would never lack anything again. That would cause you to have favor for that king, I would think. There is also the Scythian herb, with which being tasted, or at least held in the mouth, they report the Scythians will endure 12 days hunger and thirst. And the Apollonius said that he was taught by an oracle that there were many kinds of herbs and stones with which men might prolong their lives forever, but that it was not lawful for men to understand the knowledge of those things, because whereas they have but a short time to live, they study mischief with all their might and attempt all manner of wickedness. If they should be sure of a very long time, they would not spare the gods themselves. I've told you this many times. There has been no god or gods that has manifested before humanity at one time. We would kill them. They know it. We know it. You would have those who would worship it and the other half who would hate it. And as we as humans do so often, we would be the one that would be spilling our own blood. Anyway, I digress. But from whence these virtues are none of all these have showed, who have set forth huge volumes of the property of things. Not Hermes, not Bacchus, not Aaron, not Orpheus, not Theophilus, not Thebith, not Zephanias, not Zoroaster, not Evac, not Dioscorides, not Isaac the Jew, not Zacharias the Babylonian, not Albertus, not Arnolus, and yet all of these have confessed the same, that Zacharias writes to Mithrites, the great power and human destinies are crouched in the virtues of stones and herbs. But to know from whence these come, a higher speculation is required. Alexander, the patriot, not going any further than his senses and qualities, is of the opinion that these proceed from elements and their qualities, which haply might be supposed to be true if those were of the same species. But many of the operation of the stones agree neither in genre nor species. Therefore, Plato and his scholars attributed these virtues to ideas, the formers of things. But Evzian reduced these kinds of operations to intelligence, Hermes to the stars, Albertus to the special forms of things. And although these authors seem to thwart one another, yet none of them, if they be rightly understood, goes beside the truth, since all their sayings are the same in effect in most things. For God, in the first place, is the end and the beginning of all virtues. He gives the seal of the ideas to his servants, the intelligencies. Now, we just learned something here. Agrippa made reference to these before. Now we know who these intelligencies are. We don't know what they are, but we know that he calls them his servants, who, as faithful officers, sign all things entrusted to them with an ideal virtue. Look what's said here. They sign it. How do you think they do that? Symbols, sigils? Your name is a sigil. Just to let you know that. The heavens and stars as instruments disposing the matter in the meanwhile for the receiving of those forms which reside in divine majesty. As Plato said to Timaeus, and to be conveyed by stars. And the giver of forms, so this is a specific entity. The giver of forms distributes them by the ministry of his intelligences. This is a complex structure, order, exactness, but which I love it. And you have to love the infinite being. It threw in randomness because I don't think it wants to know the whole future. It becomes boring. So if you have randomness, what's the old expression? Shit happens. Anyway, which he hath set as rulers and controllers over his works, to whom such a power is entrusted in things committed to them, that so all virtues of stones, herbs, metals, and all other things may come from the intelligences, the governors. Peter, you ought to make a chart on this one, because this is complex. The form, now understand, that's capital. The form, therefore, and virtue of things comes first from the ideas. You have to think it before it can be happening. Then from the ruling and governing intelligences. So this is a path that shows us who we should be making introductions to. These are entities, powers that we should all become very familiar with. I dare say to ask for their favor as well. And then from aspects of the heavens, and that's capital H with an S now, disposing, and lastly from the tempers of the elements disposed, answering the influences of the heavens by which the elements themselves are ordered or disposed. And there you now have the org chart. These kinds of operations, therefore, are performed in these inferior things by express forms, us, and in the heavens by disposing virtues, in intelligences by mediating rules, and in the original cause by ideas, the exemplary forms, all of which must of necessity agree in the execution of the effect and virtue of everything. I mean, you got to look at this. It's completely harmonious. There is, therefore, a wonderful virtue and operation in every herb and stone, but greater in a star, beyond which, even from the governing intelligences, everything receives and obtains many things for itself. Did you get that? Especially from the supreme cause, with whom all things do mutually and exactly correspond, agreeing in an harmonious consent, as it were in hymns, always praising the highest maker of all things. Powerful, powerful knowledge here, folks. As by the three children in the fiery furnace, were all things called upon to praise God with singings. Bless ye the Lord, all things that grow upon the earth, and all things which move in the waters, all fowls of the heavens, beasts and cattle, together with the sons of men. There is, therefore, no other cause of the necessity of effects than the connection of all things with the first cause, and their correspondency with those divine patterns and eternal ideas, whence everything has its determinate and particular place in the exemplary world from which it lives and receives its original being. Wow. And every virtue of herbs, stones, metals, animals, words, and speeches, and all things that are of God is placed there. Now, the first cause, which is God, although he does by intelligences and the heavens work upon these inferior things, does sometimes, these mediums being laid aside, or their officiating being suspended. This is so cool because it kind of tells you where the whole thing of the miracle comes from. It's as though God has set this structure, but he also allows him the veto card. Says, well, wait a minute, I'm going to suspend you because I'm going to get myself involved personally in this. May answer to a lot of these things. Works those things immediately by himself, which works then are called miracles. But whereas secondary causes, which Plato and others call handmaids, do by the command and appointment of the first cause necessarily act and are necessitated to produce their effects, if God shall, notwithstanding, according to his pleasure, so discharge and suspend them, that they shall wholly desist from the necessity of that command and appointment. Then they are called the greatest miracles of God. So the fire in the Chaldean furnace did not burn the children. So also the sun at the command of Joshua went back in its course and space of the whole day. Excuse me, folks, real quick. Excuse me, my dog has eaten a bone, and so excuse me one time. All right. Dancer stays right here, right beside me, and so watch those bones, kid. So I love this also. Now, look at this. I just want to bring this out. Notice it's the Chaldean furnace. Now, what you have in your Old Testament, who is it? It says Babylonian. Interesting. So also the sun at the command of Joshua went back from its course the space of a whole day. So also at the prayer of Hezekiah, it went back 10 degrees or hours. So when Christ was crucified, the sun was darkened, though at full moon. And the reason of these operations can be by no rational discourse, no magic or occult or profound science whatsoever be found out or understood, but are to be learned and inquired into by divine oracles only. Now, I put a mark on this one because it's really interesting how Agrippa is coming in at this. So there's a lot going on here. Now, I know from studying, reading what our sun does, I know how our earth rotates. I know for the earth for the sun, in order to stop still, would be a celestial event that, well, it would require more than a big magic hand coming down and holding the earth. There are physics involved here, immense sciences, that laws that are being reversed, violated. However, we know in the modern man annuals of recorded history that there was such an event. The Chinese called it the endless night. There were others that called it the second day with no night. So something happened. What? We don't know. But apparently only through divine oracles will we find this out. All right, chapter 14, of the spirit of the world, what it is, and how by way of medium it unites occult virtues to their subjects. Thematicus and Opharis and many of the Pythagoreans, having most diligently searched into the virtues of celestial things and natures of inferior things, said that all things are full of God, and not without cause. For there is nothing of such transcending virtues, which being destined of divine assistance, is content with the nature of itself. You want to know why we constantly strive, why there's always this struggle within? Because we're not happy with who ourselves are. Most of the times we don't know who ourselves is. But this is why. Also, they called those divine powers which are diffused in things gods, which Zoroaster called divine allurements, since this symbolical enticements. Others called them lives, and some also souls, saying that the virtue of things did depend upon these, because it is the property of the soul to be from one matter extended into different things about which it operates. So it's called divine allurements, symbolical enticements, or just lives, souls, you and I. So is a man who extends his intellect into intelligible things, and his imagination unto imaginable things. And this is that which they understood when they said that the soul of one thing went out and went into another thing, altering it and hindering the operations of it, as the diamond hinders the operation of the lodestone, that it cannot attract iron. Now, seeing the soul is the first thing that is movable, and, as they say, is moved of itself, but the body or the matter is of itself unable and unfit for motion. I want to stop right there. In many of the stories of creation, it was said that the first versions, they never got it. And it was only when a spirit or soul inhabits the body does the body have the ability to move. Otherwise, the body cannot move. I can hold my hands up. My body only is doing this because of what my soul, my spirit, has told it to. I'm thinking ahead, and this is where you have to understand where Agrippa was saying many of the old master magicians, philosophers, coming in and saying, whatever we do is actually the afterthought. In other words, it's already been perceived and conceived and happened, and then we actually do it. Gives you a really good insight into what spatial time space is. I continue. Such a one that may be, as it were, no body. So that we can exist with no body. This is what it's saying. But as it were, a soul, or as it were, no soul, but as it were, a body, by which the soul may be joined to the body. Now they conceive such a medium to be the spirit of the world. In order for us to be able to do this magic, to do this incredible thing of bonding, conjoining, is that there has to be a medium that's facilitating it. And it's unique to this planet, apparently. It's called the spirit of the world. That which we call the quintessentious, because it is not from the four elements, but a certain first thing, having its being above and besides them. There is, therefore, such a kind of spirit required to be, as it were, the medium, whereby celestial souls are joined to gross bodies. Ladies and gentlemen, the teaching here is we are celestial souls. There is this spirit that inhabits this realm, that facilitates. It's a medium. Fantastic. Whereby celestial souls are joined to gross bodies and bestowed upon them wonderful gifts. This spirit is after the same manner in the body of the world as ours is in the body of man. For as the powers of our soul are communicated to the members of the body by the Spirit, so also the virtue of the soul of the world is diffused through all things by the quintessence. For there is nothing found in the whole world that has not a spark of the virtue thereof. Lilith told us that was the unique thing about us. We had the spark of the divine. Yeah. Yet it is more. Most of all, infused into those things which have received or taken in most of this spirit. Now, this spirit is received or taken in by the rays of the stars, so far forth as things rendered themselves conformable to them. By this spirit, therefore, every occult property is conveyed into herbs, stones, metals, and animals through the sun, moon, planets, and through stars higher than the planets. Miss you, Patrick. Now this spirit may be more advantageous to us if anyone knew how to separate it from the elements, or at least to use those things chiefly which do most abound with this spirit. For these things in which this spirit is less drowned in a body and less checked by matter, do more powerfully and perfectly act, and also more readily generate their like. For in it are all the generative and seminary virtues, for which cause the alchemists endeavor to separate this spirit from gold and silver, which being rightly separated and extracted, if thou shalt afterward project it upon any matter of the same kind, i.e. any metal, presently will turn it into gold or silver. And we know how to do that. and have seen it done. But we could make no more gold than the weight of that was out of which we extracted the spirit. For seeing that gold is an extense form and not intense, it cannot beyond its own bounds change an imperfect body into a perfect, which I deny not, that may be done by another way. Folks, this is incredible. You'll never turn lead into gold because there, as he said, there is a, and this is something that I find fascinating. The alchemists, I mean, this is the first time, I've read a lot of books on alchemy, and this is the first time that it is in print what's really being done here. There is a powerful spiritual component to all things. Certain things with much more greater density carry much more of that power, that spirit. And it appears that it can, in fact, be separated. And because of like can only go into like, can only affect in the same manner of which it was extracted. I told you, folks, this was powerful. Chapter 15, how we must find out and examine the virtue of things by way of similitude. It is now manifested that the occult properties in things are not from the nature of the elements, but infused from above, hid from our senses, and scarce at last known by our reason, which indeed come from the life and the spirit of the world through the rays of the stars, and can no otherwise but by experience and conjecture be inquired into by us. Wherefore, he that desires to enter upon this study must consider that everything moves and turns itself to its like, and inclines that to itself with all its might, as well in property. Occult virtue, as in quality, elemental virtue, sometimes also in substance itself, as we see in salt, for whatsoever has long stood with salt becomes salt. For every agent, when it has begun to act, does not attempt to make a thing inferior to itself, but as much as it may be like and suitable to itself, which also we manifestly see in sensible animals, in which the nutritive virtue does not change the meat into an herb or a plant, but turns it into sensible flesh. I want to stop right here. You see, so many times, if you're in this rut where things continue to repeat in your life, there's a magic at work here. It's unbeknownst to you. This works regardless whether you know it or not. And we all are impacted by the effects of this. It's why your thinking can become so negatively orientated. That's all you see. That's everything you filter. People who are looking for the end of the world, that's all they see everything as. They see it through this as, the end of the world. And being that is what they are attracting, that's what they are, they will attract that into their lives. This goes for poverty, illness. It goes for a whole slew of things. Remember, you cannot build your house in the middle of a hurricane. Doesn't work, sweetheart. It just doesn't. In what things, therefore, there is an excess of any quality or property, as heat, cold, boldness, fear, sadness, anger, love, hatred, or any other passion or virtue, whether it be in them by nature or sometimes also by art or chance, as boldness in a wanton. These things do very much move and provoke to such a quality, passion, or virtue. So fire moves to fire, water moves to water, And he that is bold moves to boldness. And it is well known amongst physicians that brain helps the brain and lungs the lungs. So also is said that the right eye of a frog helps the soreness of a man's right eye, and the left eye therefore helps the soreness of his left eye, if they be hanged about his neck on a cloth of its natural color. The like is reported of the eyes of a crab. So the feet of a tortoise helps them that have gout in their being, applied thus: a foot to a foot, hand to a hand, right to right, left to left. After this manner, they say that any animal that is barren causes another to become barren, and of the animal, especially the generative parts. So they report that a female shall be barren if betimes drink be made of a certain sterile animal, and anything steeped where therewith. If, however, we would obtain any property or virtue, let us seek such animals, or such other things whatsoever, in which such a property is in more eminent manner than in any other thing. And in these, let us take that part in which such a property or virtue is most vigorous. As if at any time we would promote love, let us seek some animal which is most loving, of which kind are pigeons, turtles, sparrows, swallows, wagtails, and in these take their members or parts in which the vital virtue is most vigorous, such as the heart, the breast, are also like parts. And it must be done at that time when these animals have this affection most intense, for then they do provoke and draw love. Listen, we talked about what happens when animals are slaughtered. We covered this. This is the same thing. You know, I go by the old adage, in the mouth of two or more witnesses, let everything be established. In like manner, to increase boldness, let us look for a lion or a cock, and of these let us take the heart, the eyes, or the forehead. And so we must understand that which Philus in the Platonist saith, that dogs, cows, cocks conduce much to watchfulness. Also the nightingale and the bat or horned owl. And in these, the heart, the head, the eyes especially. Therefore it is said, if any shall carry the heart of a crow or a bat about him, he shall not sleep till he cast it away from him. The same does with the head of a bat, dried and bound to the right arm of him that is awake, for it is to be put upon him when he is asleep. It is said that he shall not be awake till it be taken off of him. After the same manner does a frog and an owl make one talkative, and of these specifically the tongue and the heart. So the tongue also of the water frog laid under the bed makes a man speak in his sleep, and the heart of a screech owl laid upon the left breast of a woman that is asleep is said to make her utter all her secrets. The same also the heart of the horned owl is said to do, also the suet of a hare laid upon the breast of one that is asleep. Upon the same account do animals that are long-lived conduce to long life. And whatsoever things have a power in themselves to renew themselves conduce to the renovation of the body and restoring of youth, which physicians have often professed they know to be true. Excuse me, folks, once again. All right. I had to take the bone away. Like, all right. All right. So we're talking about long life, that whatsoever things have a power in themselves to renew themselves conduce to the renovation of our body and restoring of youth, which physicians have often professed they know to be true, as is manifested of the viper and snakes. Trina, if you're watching, isn't this interesting? And it is also known that the hearts renew their old age by the eating of snakes. Huh. I did not know that. After the same manner, the phoenix is renewed by fire, which she makes for herself. And the like virtue there is in a pelican, whose right foot being put under warm dung, after 3 months there is of that generated a pelican. Therefore, some physicians buy some certain confections made of vipers and the hellebore and the flesh of some kind of animals do restore youth, and indeed sometimes resort so as Medea restored old Peleus. It is also believed that the blood of a bear, if it be sucked out of her womb, does increase the strength of body because that animal is the strongest creature. All right, I think we're going to stop right there. Wow. Yeah. Didn't think a whole lot of people would stay, but it doesn't matter if there's only 5 people in here that listen to this. Those 5 are going to grow and they're going to become powerful. You see, people don't like to be educated. They like the foolishness. They like for themselves to be entertained. And this requires dedication. It requires, how shall we say, discipline. And most of the people I know lack that. The ones on the street, the one I've met in business, they're slackers. They go through life doing the bare minimum in order to get by. And don't teach me about magic. That's why most religions fail, most people, is that they're lazy. More easier just to depend on something I can't see because I don't want to be bothered. And what's going to happen to them, they're going to get on the other side and they're going to go, oh shit. Yeah, I should have listened. I should have taken notes, and I should have become more of a master of my destiny. Destiny is upon us all. We agree to it. Somehow or another, we agree to the condition and the stances of our lives coming in here. I, however, believe that random factor allows each of us to change destiny within itself. Folks, if you're not here to graduate, then what are you here for? What are you doing here? Seriously, what are you doing in this life? Is it to buy a new car, to have a new, the thing that we so settle for, the paupers that we become because we settle for such gross, low things that we fail to obtain the glory that we were each destined to come. But we sabotage ourselves, folks. We do. All right. This is good stuff. I don't care what anyone says. I know some of you are getting it, and that's all that counts. In all classes, I think Franny, who is a student, will tell you, a lot of people sign up for a class. It's amazing the amount that never put themselves into the class. And as a result, we're a species with amnesia. I see that. I'm just reading that. So anyway, we'll continue this tomorrow. This will change your life. It really bothers me to see people that are suffering that with not enough food in the house, not trying to figure out how to pay the rent, not even maybe even having a house. And it doesn't need to be that way. We've allowed powers to usurp the very thing that each of us have been granted and given. But many of us so often allow it to be stolen. And at some point in all too many lives, we give up. We compromise. We take something lesser. So many people today no longer know what it means to sacrifice. They want it immediately. They don't understand the virtue of striving for something. And they never go through life. They expect life to give them a free ticket. And millennials, you're the generation that's showing it. Life doesn't owe you anything. Your parents don't owe you anything. The government doesn't owe you anything. The only thing you're owed is your death. And how you do the rest of it is dependent upon you. And that's the problem with, I think, our society. You know, I'm just reading Secretary Girl, that, each of us have our own place. The point is, you see, I get the emails from the people that are hurting. So I have a different perspective than many of you. I see this and I read it. And as an empath, it bothers us. You want to reach out. So this is my way. If I can teach you how to become a more powerful magician, that you can begin to change your destiny, then that's well worth it. All right, folks, I appreciate you. Thank you. Tune in tonight if you can over the Artist First Network. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's show, I think, will be a beautiful way to end this week. And going to be sharing some things that some of you from the community have sent in, and I'll share it with all of us, and you can add it to your file. All right, folks, thank you. Thank you all. You're beautiful people. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be a part of immersed in your reality, your experience here, and thank you for adding to mine. I appreciate it so much. All right, folks, be good to yourselves, and we'll see you later.